Hello guys, welcome back to the channel, the Manga Man here, and today we're talking about solo leveling. It is a catch-up video, so 247 and 248. There have been a few things that have caused delay, particularly around work, and now fasting aside, it does make it a little bit harder, a bit tiresome. Your energy levels aren't quite where they normally need to be, but we're going to catch up hopefully now, and hopefully we'll keep more regular moving forward. So without further ado, let's get into this review. So, chapter 247. To me, chapter 247 was quite satisfying from a narrative perspective and, moving things along and kind of dealing with the fight. So I was happy that the fight got resolved. And it turns out I was quite happy with the result of this skirmish, shall we say. Now, well, what I found interesting was it wasn't clarified about what happened with Huang Dong-soo. We see the outcome, what actually happens to him, but we don't know how he got where he got to. So let's kind of elaborate a little bit. So realistically, this chapter is all about the fight. The fight is carrying on. The same techniques are basically being used. Thomas Andre is using capture. He's using his reinforcement technique, and I'm assuming literally from his point of view, he's basically had this overwhelming power. He's only ever really needed to use those 2 or 3 techniques: capture, strengthen yourself, demolish your opponent. It just essentially he's not had to use anything else, and because of that, he's not learned anything else, and that showed because one of the things that Jin Woo has been doing is acquiring skills and talent and just growing. And as he's been growing, he's been getting more formidable in all the areas. It kind of reminds you of a game a little bit, when you've got this character and you think, okay, do I need to work on his speed? Do I need to work on his strength, his intelligence, or whatever it might be? And he's kind of been working on all the stats. So to have so much physical power for a major magic user, as he's been labelled because of the labeling system for his license, for them to kind of be overwhelmed physically by him, it kind of broke Andre a little bit. Like, how is he able to be this strong? Because the fight essentially went that way. He did his moves. As they start getting into the skirmishes, they kind of realize, oh, wait a minute, this isn't looking too well for me. And then it gets to a point where he's literally punching him, and Andre's like, I don't think I can win this, I'm just gonna quit. And he goes, you've won, I've been thoroughly defeated. And he's took such a whooping that they can't heal him on the spot, they have to take him to a hospital. And it was only because he was so durable that he lasted that long. That's how destructive Jin Woo is, and it's everyone's shocked that someone's been able to do that to him, because he was meant to be the number 1 guy, and clearly he's not the number 1 guy anymore. And I'm not sure where Christopher Reid ranked. I don't want to go and see the rankings for the top 5 and spoil it for myself, but Thomas Andre is meant to be number 1. I don't know where Christopher ranks. I don't know where Liu Zhugeng ranks, but if he's being the number 1 guy and one of the other of the 5 is dead and only 4 of them fight, it kind of shows that there's not a lot someone can do to Jin Woo. That being said, we see Dong-soo's body on the floor and he's not breathing, and then we later find out that basically he using shadow exchange, Jin Woo's gone back to South Korea for a bit. He's speaking to a shadow while Beru is healing Jin Ha, and that shadow turns out to be someone he calls Greed, which is the shadow he's extracted from Dong-soo. Now, he didn't hold bags in particular, but the fact that he made him basically do a type of plank with his head was funny enough. He's a big dude, don't get me wrong, but yeah, I just found that funny that he's made him do that. Kind of fitting, his name is all there. He's not quite great, like I know from a different story that we won't get into, Grade or Greed, but yeah, it's an interesting chapter. At the end of the chapter, we kind of see him walking into the press conference or the conference, and you see a few panels of different people watching him. One in particular stood out, and we find out in 248 who that is. So without further ado, let's get into 248. So, 248 does a good job of explaining what is going on in the world. That are certain points where these gates are opening, or energy is kind of funneling and triangulating around certain areas, one being South Korea being the biggest. And it gets Jin Woo to think about the monarchs, the 9 monarchs. There's 9 spots, you could say, or 9 areas of influence where this magic and these gates are opening. And we might get some of that, globe trotting where he goes around the world helping people and helping gates. I don't know, but the fact that they've got gates and monarchs pretty much in the same page, panel, or sentence is an interesting tidbit to consider. And the whole time everyone's like, oh, this is the guy that beat Thomas Andre, blah 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 blah. And then when that's over, then we get the message about Jin Woo's father. And I really like the way that's addressed, because everyone thought that, okay, this person whooped Thomas Andre, he must be the killer. And then they get told, no, it's not him. This person claiming to be human, who he classified as a monster, is the suspect, and everyone's meant to go after him. And then Liu Zhugeng, who's the person who was in the panel that we saw at the end of the last chapter, says, look, we know, why aren't you telling us? Can you tell us who it is? And what's this got to do with Jin Woo? And it turns out, yeah, it's his father. And he asks him the question. And the way he answers the question is perfect, because it's politically correct, and it's a warning to every person in the room. And it's quite simple. He says, listen, if he is a monster, I'll take it upon myself to essentially eradicate him. And if he was a monster, that would be the case, because like, how dare he use his father's face. And if he's not a monster and he's a human, he's going to protect his family, and he'll take down every single hunter in the world. So the fact that he's able to warn the top 500-ish hunters in the world that, if you want some, come get some, you better be on the right side of history, was cool. Then we get this nice little kind of a thing at the end where there's a conversation between the people from the Hunter Bureau of America, or the Asian branch for America, and he's talking to Jin Woo, I think his name is Mr. White, and they're intercepted by Liu Zhugeng, who appears nicer than people think he was going to be. Even Jin Woo's kind of affected, and he goes, I hope that they don't have to fight each other, basically. I don't know if that's kind of posturing or a warning, but it's a sign of things to come. And realistically, if these people have the power of the rulers and they need to fight against the monarchs, and the monarchs are the bad people, which is weird considering Jin Woo's a monarch, but as we know, there's a betrayal going on there with the other monarchs, and Baran, who we've already seen defeated, and Beast Boy was there as well. This all is interesting. We'll have to have it clarified. So if the rulers are using these people as vessels, we really need them alive, because the monarchs are killing them anyway. So again, it's one of those things where if they do fight, I don't want Jin Woo killing him, because I kind of want that power to be about to defend Earth. That being said, that is pretty much the chapter. So it does leave us with this excitement that this fight of clash possibly can happen. What's the monarchs dealing with this? What's the rulers, the monarchs with this? What's going to happen with the father? We've seen the end of the battle. Thomas Andre is in hospital. So we'll see what happens, but it's an interesting and exciting nonetheless. So as always, thank you for getting this far. All links will be in the description below, including timestamps. I do urge you to please watch the full video and like, share and subscribe. Until next time.